There's no doubt about it, Apple has not been a fan of jailbreaking for several years, and they've gone out of their way to make it as difficult as possible by fixing the security vulnerabilities. And you also can't deny that they've taken inspiration from the jailbreak community. So for example, the control center that you have now is taken and inspired from the jailbreak community. For several years you didn't actually have a control center at all, and then the jailbreak community had something in there, and then over time they've expanded on that as Apple implemented the control center. Another one I remember is the volume, where you used to turn the volume up and you'd always have, or down, and you'd always have that volume right in the middle of the screen. So if you're watching a YouTube video or anything like that, that was covered up by this big volume thing. Jailbreaking used to then put it onto the side, a little slider up and down, which we now have as well. Screenshots were again something that the jailbreak community had originally. You take a screenshot and then you can drag on the screen where you want that to actually snip it from, and the same is now available on iOS. Another one then is the multi-icon mover. That was a jailbreak feature first, and now Apple has implemented it. So you put it into wiggle mode, you drag one, and then you can tap on multiple, and then you can move multiple apps over as well. And then you also had what was, I think it was called night shift, where the screen you could put it into like that yellow tint mode, and then that eventually made its way to the iPhone as well. We had Files R as well. Before you actually had files on the iPhone, you could remove the labels from icons in the dock, well, just icons in general if you wanted to, and now Apple allows you to hide some of those. You can then move apps into whatever formation you wanted to. That was a jailbreak, and Apple's kind of implemented that at the moment, maybe not perfectly. You got your dark mode as well for icons. The list really continues to go on. Now, we're also talking about rumours of rounded icons coming to iOS 19. I remember having this several years ago. There was a icon pack, and I was able to put it into round icons. Now, there was a feature that I wish they would bring, and that was the ability to put your multiple apps together. So what I would do is I'd try and get that minimalist thing, and I could have multiple icons on my dock by, say, for example, swipe up or swipe down on an icon. That would open up like a kind of invisible folder, and I would put several things together, so like music and YouTube and everything. I'd put it there, you'd see one icon unless you swiped up, and then you'd have more. So that way you could fit more on there, but it'd also have a minimum look and hide them out the way. And then with iOS 18, you now have the option to schedule messages. And I had this way back, I think it was Byte SMS, which would probably be about iOS 5, I think I was using that on. And then when that went under, another project came out, and again that allowed you to schedule your SMSs and iMessages. And I remember doing that when I was on a night shift for somebody's birthday, so I didn't wake them up too early in the morning by sending them a text, but a schedule because I was going to bed probably as they were getting up, and that was sent off as well. Another feature that the jailbreak community had for quite some time was QR code scanning in the default camera app. Previously you had to download a separate application, and obviously now Apple has implemented that for some time, for a couple of years, into the default camera app as well. And that just got me thinking. People are saying how Apple seems to have lost their innovation over the last couple of years. Now, I see that from both a hardware and a software version, and that's got me thinking, is the software version of them not being able to be innovative is because now the jailbreaking is pretty much dead? There are obviously still the hardcore jailbreakers out there who are running a lot of an older iOS version, so they are still making some fantastic things. But because it's not as wide and as adopted as it was previously, they're now starting to lose that inspiration. Now, when it comes to hardware, that is a different story as well. Personally, I think they did quite a good innovation work with the Apple Watch and the AirPods, and since then they've worked on those and improved those features, but nothing I would say is really innovative. I wouldn't say the VR headset is anything to really write home about. You have VR headsets out there already. Now, personally, I haven't used the Apple one, so I can't really comment too much, but just from the reviews that I've seen online, it's not something I think there's really stand out as an inspirational. So let me know, do you think Apple has lost its innovation? And do you think part of that reason is because jailbreaking is now pretty much impossible? Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you on the next episode.